بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
So we said that we would take questions and try to have a discussion. Would you like to ask a question?
Just to summarize, you've been a little bit hard on men, you know. I've been a single parent for 10 years with 3 kids, and my first wife decided to leave, and in 3 months after our divorce, she went and got married to somebody who was married to 3 other women. And for 10 years, I've been working in a very high-tech company in Montreal with 3 kids. I sponsored my family in Lebanon to come and help me, but then at the end, I end up myself alone because everybody have their schools and studies and everything. So I wanted to share this with you because there are men also who has been prosecuted and we need to go to parliament to demonstrate. And also one thing, I got married another time after 10 years, and I got 3 girls. So now I am really worried about my girls, you know, because they have to have hijab, they have to go to school, they were raised here, they were born here, they know French, English. I try to teach them Arabic. The first 3 learned 3 languages all well because the family were with me. But the second one is harder. Even the youngest is the hardest, but still I'm trying, okay? 2 of them had hijab. One of them wanted to have hijab on my birthday as a birthday gift. She surprised me, and she is now 17. So I don't know what to say. I have seen other stories where men, when I have my daughter, when she asked for her mahr to give to orphans. Her mahr is give to orphans, dowry. Okay? Now people are asking for gold, for I know someone who is in debt now, close to about $120,000 because he's getting involved in a marriage and they didn't even get to move. So excuse me, pardon me. We have to make things simple, and please look at us. I mean, very, very nice people here. And I have 5 daughters and I'm worried about them, you know, and I give all the honor for the ladies, all my honor for the ladies. They have more patience, they are the ones who take care, who get pregnant, the ones who get breastfeed. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're really indebted to you for sharing this experience, this lived experience of yours, and for a very much needed counterbalance to the narrative that is there, which has obviously its truth, that, you know, men are not what they should be, but it certainly cannot capture the full truth of everybody's lives, and the fact that many men are upholding what it means to be a man, what it means to be noble, and that in some cases it is women who are at fault in certain situations related to marriage, absolutely. So that has to be noted, because we also live in a time in which, even in the society surrounding us, as Shaykh Walead was pointing out, that we're not unaffected by the narrative that's there in general society, and we are surrounded by a narrative that reinforces negative behavior in men by constantly reminding them that is what you're like. You're just a grown-up child. And jokes are made about men, and jokes are made about fathers, and so there is a culture that is sort of almost, like I said, reinforcing a certain negative stereotype about men, which doesn't help us either. We have to be careful to not fall into that, and to easily read into certain, perhaps, human failings or human frailties that we find in our own spouses or fathers or brothers, that we don't read into that a complete condemnation, or we don't find in that a means to simply condemn them and to write them off as being failures at being men. We have to be very careful. Just as we don't want, as women, we don't want our spouses or fathers to do that to us, because we don't carry a full, we don't carry perfection, in our womanhood, because who does? So that's much needed, and I hope that we can remember these things when we're thinking about what we want in a partner, and not just sort of say all men are losers or something like that. Not that anyone said that here, but it's very easy to go on Facebook and write things like that, and some people do that.
You know why? Because we have more male scholars than female scholars, and then the male scholars, they want to be, it's not they want to be popular, yeah, maybe, some of them, but also it's everyone should criticize his own, you understand, and people are working on themselves, so you have to speak up, you and Satamra, and you have to talk about these things, and clearly, and they need tarbiyyah. The girls, they need tarbiyyah, and they need tarbiyyah now.
I think, I just want to comment on what you were saying. You're worried about your girls and so on, and just that I think a key thing that no one should leave home without is a mentor, as Shaykh Walead said. You should never enter into a marriage without someone there, without a supporting friend. And you should apply that to even pre-marriage as you're getting to know someone. You absolutely have to have someone who you can consult with, who you can take advice from. How will you really know if you're doing the right thing? How will you read what's going on in that situation? How will you know that these are red flags? Based on what, if you've never been married before? How are you going to know what's going on? You absolutely have to be willing to seek advice and support from someone else. So this is something that's almost disappeared in our communities. And the Prophet ﷺ said, there is no good in a people who neither seek advice nor offer advice. There is no good in a people who neither seek advice nor offer advice to each other. And we've almost become that people. We can be very reluctant to even offer advice because we don't want to offend anyone, and we don't want to go out of our way. And it takes courage to do that, to offer advice to someone, but it also takes love. And also to seek advice. And seeking advice applies to anything that you regard as important. We get consultants to come in when we want to do a big project if we're in a company. We don't just make it up on our own if we don't have the expertise at hand. What about this big project of marriage, which can alter the entire course of your life? I mean, so much can change depending on who you're married to. So, and to have taqwa in that. We know that who you marry is written for you. It's already written when you're in your mother's womb. And so this is a good starting point to understand why it's sacred. Why you have to consider each person who comes to you asking to get to know you in that way as being sent by God. And it's not okay to mistreat that person or dismiss that person for the kinds of reasons that we hear about. He wasn't tall enough. And I really want to address this because we always hear women saying there are no good men left, there are no good men left. We can testify that people come to us, both men and women, asking for, can you help us? Either they already know someone or they want to get to know someone. There are at least as many women who turn down good men without even meeting them because the person is not tall enough. And we stop there, obviously. As soon as I get the question, how tall is he? I just say, thank you very much. He's not available anymore. Because it's offensive to that person's soul and spirit. And women do this, and their parents do this as well. Mothers do this as well. And if I get someone who's a wonderful mother asking me on behalf of her son you know so many girls, I'm looking for someone for my son, I want her to be pious, I want her to be kind, and I want her to be white. No, literally this happened, but I want her to have light-colored skin. So I stopped there. I try to sort of ask the person, because they've started out so well, I mean, pious and all that, and okay, there's something to work with there. And I try to say, okay, so really, like, can we sort of just negotiate that one away? Because piety is where you started, let's just stick with that. And we have clear guidance from the Prophet ﷺ about what to look for in a partner. And those are the only hadiths that I've come across. I'm not, of course, a scholar of hadith, but in my limited experience, we all still come across many hadiths today. And we can see that they are some of the only hadiths in which the Prophet ﷺ speaks threateningly about the consequence of not doing what he says. Even when he talks ﷺ about matters of your akhirah, it's always in targheeb. It's always, if you do this, you'll get this. If you do this, Allah will be pleased with you. When you do this, your sins are forgiven from one week to another, and so on. But in this case, it's a threat, right? When he speaks to men and says that women are married for 4 reasons in general: for their beauty, for their lineage or the family that they belong to, their family name, for their wealth, and for their iman, for their relationship with God. So marry the one who has iman, or you will regret it. This is not the language that we find the Prophet ﷺ using very commonly.
Even in the other hadith,
exactly. The same thing in speaking to the woman. I just want to pause for a moment and make sure that you heard how I translated that hadith that I just mentioned, because people mistranslate that out of their own bias to say women can be married for these 4 reasons. They're good reasons. That's not the language that the Prophet ﷺ used. He's describing how in general people marry, and then he's giving a very clear instruction of what he is telling us to base our decision on. And he's speaking to men in that case. And he speaks to women as well, speaking to them through their father or their guardian by saying, if a man comes asking for your daughter's hand, then, and you are satisfied with his character, the quality of his morality and his integrity, that's akhlaq, and you're satisfied with the nature of his relationship and his expression of his relationship with God, his deen, and if you don't accept that person, then there will be a great fitna on the earth. There will be great trial brought about. And this again reminds us of our role in the relationship between marriage and community. If we're having trouble with marriage today, we're bringing it on ourselves when we turn down good people. This is the fitna perhaps that is being caused. When you keep turning away decent men, what are you turning them away to? To the computer screen? And then we want to complain about what happens after that? Are you turning them away to look for a non-Muslim woman who will at least appreciate that he wants to marry her? And we'll simply celebrate the fact that somebody is still interested in marriage in our day and age? And then we want to complain that there are no men left? So we have to be careful, and we have to really make sure that we're not adding a bunch of stuff on to what the Prophet ﷺ said, because we're only asking for our own demise in that way. And I just want to mention that, because this is, for me, what helped me, and it's what my teacher taught me when I came to the point of marriage. And she was very clear about that. And she literally told me, this is it, this is your criteria. And it was such a beautiful guidance, and it helped me so much. Because other people around me had lists that were 5 pages long of what they wanted in a spouse. The guidance of the Prophet ﷺ allows us to focus on what matters. And everything else is secondary after that. What a treasure to have good moral integrity and to have deen. I mean, after that, what else? Everything else is a bonus. And this is enough to build a life on, really. And, so we have to think about that. We have to hold the words of the Prophet ﷺ very precious to us. And they have to be the guidance that we use and that we seek. But I just want to go back to that one point, that it's very important knowing that the name of the person you're going to marry has already been written for you before you even came into this world, or no one's name if you're not destined to marry, which is not the end of the world. Knowing that gives you a sense of peace. And it allows you to not go around feeling like there's such a big pressure on you to put yourself out there. what does that even mean to put yourself out there? We see people making compromises about their own values and their own self-perception even, doing things that they don't even feel comfortable with just to make sure that they're still in the game. But it's already written for you. It's like rizq, it's like your money, it's like the food you're going to eat on any day. And we have these beautiful teachings in Islam where we know that even if you try to run away from your rizq, it's going to catch you. It's decreed. And that should give us a sense of peace. And we shouldn't feel desperate to find this partner so that we put up images of ourselves on Facebook so that we get seen in that way, or go to events where we afterwards we feel so demeaned for having attended events where people look you up and down and write down what they think of you, and then they hand in their top 3 choices. Really? I mean, I'm sympathizing with people who go to those things because they do it just simply because they want to have a decent halal life, and I respect that. But we have to also hold on to who we are and not sacrifice our own well-being and sense of self for something like this, knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can send you that spouse from out of nowhere if it's meant for you. And that you have a life to live in the meantime, that you're not simply waiting for that person to appear. You have a life with Allah that's primary, and that you have to keep nurturing that relationship with Him. And then whatever comes is a gift. And whatever doesn't come, it's also meant to be. So, please, other questions?
There's a question.
Oh, okay.
She said everything I was going to say. I didn't want you to have an imbalanced perception of what I was trying to say, and I think I emphasize Ustadha Shehnaz's comments. فَاظْفَرْ فِي ذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرْبَتْ يَدَاكَ. Seek the one that is of the deen. And I would just caveat that a little bit and say, it's interesting the Prophet ﷺ used the word deen here. He didn't say salah or ibadah or any, but he said deen. And deen in the Arabic language has also many meanings, but كَمَا تَدِينُ تُدَانُ, like in the pure linguistic sense, it's mu'amala, right? So what we're looking for in mu'amala means how one deals with one another. So that's what we're looking for. This person may pray in the first row at Fajr every day, and maybe they have a wird, and maybe they fast Mondays and Thursdays, but if they're a jerk, for lack of a better word, if they're someone who's not kind, if someone whose ibadah has made them muta'agrif and arrogant and so forth, I don't think the Prophet ﷺ meant marry that type of person, right? So that's why it's important to be discerning, right, in how we look at the people that are coming to our prospective daughters and to our prospective sons as brides and as grooms. And I also think there's another notion I think that's out there that some people may delay marriage purposefully, or say, well, I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm not quite ready. I have to have these things in place. And to me, the most successful marriages is when the two come together and they grow together. That's why it's always better for them to marry early, because you can think of them as still malleable. And so when they marry early, then they kind of form themselves, right? The formative process happens in tandem. And when that happens, it's much a bigger, I think, recipe for success than if they get married later and they've both lived alone for a while and they're set in their ways and they have their habits and their routines, and then they get married and then the little things will annoy them, and perhaps annoy them to the degree that they don't think, they liked it better when they were alone, and they had the sink on the right side of the bathroom and now they have to use the one on the left, and all that type of thing. So I think it's important that's a point. And also we have to understand people at their shortcomings and their inconsistencies. And I know there's some people out there that are kind of telling people, wait for the right guy, wait for the soulmate, wait for, Mr. Darcy. There's no Mr. Darcy except in Jane Austen's imagination, right? You're not going to find Mr. Darcy. What you're going to find is, the guys have no idea what I'm talking about, which is fine. So, even though my wife thinks I'm a little like Mr. Darcy, just to admit. But anyway. So, but you look for somebody who, has those principles at play. They may have some inconsistencies. They may have some things that maybe, you don't like that he wears sneakers with his sport jacket or something like that. You may think like, how can he possibly do that? How come he's not wearing dress shoes when he's coming to the house? Those little things, right? People, remember, everybody's a work in progress, especially if they're like 22, 23, 24, 25. This doesn't mean that's going to be the way their whole life. And I remember when I was 24 or 25, I was different. I was probably a much more difficult person in terms of my expectations and stuff. So people usually have very, very high expectations that they're going to be able to check everything off the checklist immediately. And if that doesn't happen in the first meeting, then it's a no. No, you have to mull it over. You have to think about it. There's a word in Arabic. It's called, fatrat al-khitbah. Khutbah is the sermon or the speech or even the thing you say right before khitbah, which means, thinking about and this not a lengthy engagement process, but it's a process that people need to be mulling things over and considering. And I would also say that at this stage in the process, it should be something when there's no rukun. Rukun means they've decided to marry one another, that it should be confidential. And if it doesn't work out, it's not an excuse for either party to go and tell everybody else. Because what you do when that happens is it gets out and then people say, oh, she said no to 6 guys, well, forget that. Or he's went to 7 different women and he didn't like any of them. I don't want to be the 8th. Right? And so this kind of track record then gets out there and it becomes much more difficult for people to kind of find that, that connection. So, al-majalis bil-amana. Right? When you have these type of meetings, unless stated otherwise, the default scenario is that it's private, it's confidential. When you make an announcement, and khalas, they're going to get married, fal-ishhar. Because that's one of the meanings of marriage, that everybody knows about it. But while it's still going on, right, amana, it's a trust. And that's one of the signs, right? Because trust is a big part of the relationship. Can these people keep a secret? Can they keep a secret? Can they preserve the trust? And so forth. So everybody has to work on something, alhamdulillah. There's a question written down. What is the cause of a cold feel on the part of a potential husband also had agreed to the marriage? Ladies, this is known as playing hard to get. Which means that this is when they agree to the marriage, now this is a period of who's going to have the emotional upper hand, as it were. So some men may be under the impression if I show my hand too much, in other words, show my, like a poker game, show my cards too much, then I will lose that emotional upper hand. And it's better for me to have that than for the wife to have that. So let her chase after me rather than me chase after her. This is kind of immaturity and it's games and things, but I wouldn't make anything of it. It doesn't mean he changed his mind. It doesn't mean that he's having second thoughts. At least in my experience, it means more like he's just trying to have the emotional upper hand. So don't feed that urge within him and say, okay, fine, we'll see you when we get married, Yani, and that's okay. And, then he's going to feel like he doesn't have the upper hand anymore. So, I would say marriage is like, it's fen. It's not a game, but it's like art. And there's a way in how the relationship develops. And meeting your spouse's needs, even emotional needs, right? And purposefully doing that deliberately, even though you think maybe it's silly or maybe it's not that important, is a virtue. It's a good thing, right? If I know that the wife has a particular emotional need or otherwise, and the husband has a particular emotional need, generally speaking, men want to feel that they're needed and respected. Generally speaking, women want to feel like they're appreciated and loved. So each partner has to do that and make some effort so that even though you do appreciate them, you do love them, but they have to know that from you, right? And even though she may respect him and feel that he is needed, she has to let him know that at the same time. And communication is important. And so this has to be communicated not just verbally, but in other ways, little things that are done. Because it's the little things that will be noticed, like certain things that someone likes. He likes to have a cup of coffee right before he goes out in the morning, and if it's already down in the kitchen and waiting even before he gets there. Little things like this are indications, right, that people, little things that are appreciative. He leaves like a rose on the pillow before he leaves, and she wakes up and she sees the rose and a little note or something like that. Things like that, little small kindnesses, they help, right? And it's a prophetic sunnah to let people know. The Prophet ﷺ, when he loves somebody, when he was asked who is the most beloved of men to you, he said Abu Bakr. He said, who is the most beloved of women? He said his daughter. So let people know, right? And the Prophet ﷺ said that to his wives, إِنِّي أُحِبُّكِ وَكَذَا. So this you learn, though. This is not something that you can learn teach it in a weekend seminar, but it's things that are gained via experience and stuff. And I'm sure Shaykh Hamdi has quite a bit of that.
So that's the innocent part of it. So yes, and that's maybe the art of having of earning or winning the other person emotionally. But we have a problem today, and there is a crisis today, especially with men. After, statistically, through counseling, many of them, they come, they ask for the hand of the girl, and now she's there, and she told her parents, she told her family, she's available, and then, I don't know. I'm not sure. This is happening. It became a syndrome. It became a syndrome, I can tell you, in the Muslim community. And if you work in counseling, it became a syndrome, especially in the Muslim community. After everything worked, he works for that, and she says yes, and she even tells her mother, and he meets her mother. She tells her father, maybe he meets her, and then I'm not sure. Why you are not sure? I don't know. I need time. And that goes back to the lack of manhood, because these people, I think, and I asked some of the brothers who are in that, I told him, when you used to buy shoes when you were a kid, and after buying shoes, what do you do? I have these questions, and many of them they answered that actually, the day they wear their shoes, they just go and find if there are better deals in the market, and they will feel bad that because they did not get the better deal or something like that. So this indecisiveness, this lack of decisiveness, قلة العزم، نسأل الله العظيم على الرشد, the lack of decisiveness in serious matters is a problem. And we have that lack of decisiveness. I don't know, they spend time really thinking about the person, and after that she's there, and these people, they have to fear the day of judgment. We have a crisis of iman bil yawm al-akhir as a Muslim community. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about the people of al-kitab في سورة قاتل الذين من أهل الكتاب هم لا يؤمنون بالله ولا باليوم الآخر. عجيب, سبحان Allah. So they are people from the people of the book, so they go to their temples and they practice, etc. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it comes to the truth of their religion, He says they do not believe in God and they do not believe in the day of judgment. And that applies to many people today, to many Muslims today who go to masajid and who go to pray Jumu'ah and who go to, but when it comes to really, do you believe that you are going to answer questions? Allah will ask us about these opportunities. ما اصطحب اثنان في ساعة من ليل أو نهار إلا كان أحبهما إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى أكثرهما أو أحبهما إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى أكثرهما برا بصاحبه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us about the company, will ask us about how did we treat each other, how did we care about the feelings of each other, all of that. In general today, we do not really give much thinking or give much thought to that, to al-yawm al-akhir. We are living Muslims. I'm talking about practicing people. See, I'm not talking about people who are not practicing. I'm talking about practicing people who go, and I'm talking about imams, I'm talking about alims, I'm talking about people who memorize the Quran, I'm talking about this in particular. But where is the iman bil yawm al-akhir? Where is the belief in the day of judgment? Serious belief in the day of judgment, that God will ask you, what did you do with that? So we go always with, I feel like eating now. Okay, so I feel like fasting today. Okay, great. I feel like praying now. Okay, great. I feel like gambling now. Marhab. هكذا. I feel like, it's always about I feel like, so whims. Whims and desires, really. We are going after whims and desires, and even in the matters of religion. Today people, they come to the religion and they think it is a market. They even come to shuyukh and they come with ikhtiyar, they don't come with iztirar. Fasad aqidah, so they will never get anything. We do not come to life with ikhtiyar, we come to life with iztirar. We don't come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with ikhtiyar, it's not a matter of choice. We have to go to Allah. أَمَّا يُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الْمُضْطَرِّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ. We have to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as needy. I need a solution from you. But the way, our attitude in life in general, we are like that, متحير. As if you are really, as if you are the most important human being in the eyes of God, and you are أبناء الله وأحباؤه. You are the son of God and the beloved one of God, and everyone else is a filth. And really, and everything is around you. Think about it. Even those people who are just, they go to masjid, is this the good thing for me? Is this the good thing for me? Is that the good sheikh for me? Is that for me? I don't feel this is for me. It's all about me. Ajib, as if everything is revolving around you. It's not about, Ya Rabb, place me where I get saved. Ya Rabb, put me somewhere where I can continue my journey towards you. Even in matters of religion, we are like that. It's all about, yeah, that sheikh is bad, and that sheikh is bad, and that but is sheikh, and we go like that about serious matters. Even the most sacred matters, we are approaching them in a very egotistical and egoistic way. Seriously, it's everything is revolving around us, as if you are what is best for me, as if you are the center of the universe, and that's very problematic. It applies to the marriage, and I've seen it a lot. And subhanallah, why don't you care for the feelings of the other person? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you about every single opportunity. It's not about, it's not, Allah is, as Ustadha Shehnaz said, it's a messenger from Allah. That girl as well is a messenger from God to you. Any opportunities, play the glass of water that it is in front of you. Don't think that another glass of water will replace it for sure if you miss that glass of water. Why would you اقتصدوا في الماء ولو كنتم على نهر جار. Don't waste opportunities. Who tells you that you will get a replacement for sure for that? I think the innocent part, Shaykh Walead addressed it, yes, and that's an art, and winning the heart of the other person, and ta'azzuz, okay? How to say ta'azzuz in English? Playing the hard to get and playing that. That's the innocent part of it. But there is the psychopathic part of it, really, because this is psychopathic. Huh? It's a problematic. I mean, you go to a girl, you go to her house, and you, khalas, I agree, I want to get married to you. In our tradition, it's not your decision anymore after that. Your decision, العصمة بيدك until the decision is in your hand until you go to her house. That's it. Now you went to her house, khalas. If she says yes, you belong to her. If she says yes, you belong to her. You cannot say, oh, I changed my mind now. It's قلة كرامة, قلة مروءة. ما يحدث هذا. الله أعلم. تفضل.
When I answered that question, I was under the impression it seems like I wasn't aware of this phenomenon of people sort of agreeing to marriage even before kind of taking to the families and all that. I was meant to say, if that's already happened, and then kind of the time period between either an agreement and then the actual Ibram al-Aqd al-Zawaj, yani they actually get married, or to they live with one another. However, one piece of advice I would give, and it's oftentimes maligned and attacked, the idea of that the woman should have a family member, a guardian, a male, usually the father in the picture. This is not patriarchy, as some would say. This is for protection. Because I'll tell you, being a man, and I know other men, it's easy to kind of make promises and to manipulate and all that type of thing when you're just dealing with the girl. You bring the father into the picture, completely different. Now it's serious, right? Even, you know, the things that we have about marriage, there's a dowry, there's a sadaq, there's dealing with the father, which is the male figure. All of these things is, are you serious about this, or are you a little kid and you're going to go back to playing your PlayStation? Because if you're not serious, go back to PlayStation. But if you're serious, at the kalam, at the maqam, then you bring, as they say, you bring your game with you, right? You wear nice clothes, you bring one of your parents with you, your father, you go to the house, you're polite, you don't make any assumptions, you don't have any particular expectations, you come as a humble person, you come feeling honored that they even accepted you to come into the house, to talk to you to begin with. You don't go with a chip on your shoulder, right? This is their girl, bint al-nas, right? Bint al-nas. It's not anybody. This is the girl that they raised from birth, right? The mother raised from birth, the father raised from birth. And they're waiting for the right man that they could put their daughter's hand into and they could trust. And you're coming into me with your attitude and your PlayStation and, you know, the last 5 sites you've been looking on your mobile internet, I don't know what. Look, be a man. And so once you do that, act like a man. And then once that happens, so this is for the protection of the girl, right? So don't agree to anything with my advice. Don't agree to anything with him. Say, you know what, I think you need to talk to my parents. If there's an initial kind of conversation and that's kind of okay, he talks to a friend of your friend and he shows an interest and they're just wondering if there's another interest before he puts himself out there to go to the house, okay. But you don't agree and say yes or anything like that. Say, well, if you're serious, then maybe it's time for you to talk to my parents about that. You don't talk to your parents about it. Let him come and talk to the parents about it. هو الطالب أنت المطلوبة. Right? He is asking. So let him come. Don't think you're going to lose him or he's going to change his mind, because you know what? If he's going to change his mind or you're going to lose him over that, he's not for you. ليس رجلا. He's not a man. Let him go back to his PlayStation and his friends and his man cave and all the stuff that he's doing. Right? Yeah.
If your parents don't agree, let him be a man and fight for you. And defy that and keep coming and coming and coming. And let him get beaten up. And
Exactly.
seriously, because some Algerian fathers, they do that. Bismillah.
Sorry, just before Sister Shani asks her question, I know she does, I just want to let us know this has been a wonderful panel. We're so grateful for everything you've shared, but unfortunately we are out of time because we were meant to only go to 9 o'clock and it's 5 to 9 now. So we'll let Shalini ask her questions, but I want to express my apologies to the people who've shared questions online. We'll try to share them with the teachers and maybe share those responses online if we can. And for those of you in the room, hopefully you'll have a chance to approach the teachers.
Hibba's new here, so she doesn't know how we do things around here.
Allahu Akbar. It's true, I am new here. Okay, so go ahead, Shalini, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if there's not enough time, you can cut me out because it's a comment, not a question. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So I just wanted to second all the wonderful things that were said here, and I want to second it 100% that what they're saying is exactly true. So for all my unmarried folks out there, I want to talk to you as a big sister and give you a real life example to show you that what they are saying is precisely true. Don't doubt a single word that they said. I have been through 2 marriages. One was a complete disaster. It could be turned into a Bollywood movie. And the way I went about it was very, without parents, without a mentor, without talking to anyone, going, talking to the person too much in private. And then you're in your own head and, you just make the decision and then like just too quickly, no istikhara, no one guiding me, telling me what I should do in the process. The families weren't involved enough. And if I didn't have families involved, that's fine. Like my parents are not Muslim, but I should have had a mentor or somebody to guide me through it so that I wouldn't make that mistake. But I did, and you know, it can really ruin your whole life if you go about it in the wrong way. So I just want to really emphasize that don't do it that way. Really find your community, find your mentor, and if there's points where, like your parents, you know, they have that cultural kind of thing where they're going to insist that, no, I know these, you know, your masjid helped you find a nice man, but he's not from your village or he's not from your country, so we won't allow it, then that relationship will help you, because you'll have like some confidence, because there are times where you won't have a father like Shaykh Walead. You'll have a father who's great, but he can't see past the fact that he's not from your country. You know, he just can't see it. So your community will give you the strength, you know, and your beliefs will get solidified over time, and you'll be able to convince your parents and stand up when you need to, because sometimes you'll only get that chance once. You find the perfect guy, but he's just not from the right part of the world, you know? So that's the time where you're going to have to stand up for that person, and I've seen that happening a lot here too. And unfortunate cases where there was maybe only one marriage proposal in that woman's life, but she let it go. Why? Because she was so scared to tell her parents that he wasn't the right skin color. And she cut it off. And I think till this day she's single, and it's been like 3 years since then. So when you need to fight. When you find the right person, fight for them, whether you're a woman or a man. Alhamdulillah. And then the second marriage, I want to tell you that everything they said is true. You join a community, you have wonderful people around you to advise you and protect you. And the biggest thing that I want you to remember is Shaykh Hamdi's point about dua. Don't go ahead with this without dua, because like this, the second time was completely different. It was like wake up for tahajjud. Seriously, if you're serious about this marriage thing, like men and women wake up in the middle of the night and make dua. Like I used to make dua every single night for Allah to put me in the company of righteous people. It wasn't even necessarily marriage. I used to make dua every night, like that, and then next thing I know, I'm here, like with these wonderful people, wonderful teachers, wonderful people, and eventually a wonderful husband as well. It's all from Allah. So connect with Allah, and then things will happen. And Allah will not let you down. Stick with Allah, inshallah. That's what I want to advise you.
So there's a question about if one's father is not Muslim, should the man who is proposing still go to the father to ask? So basically how to deal with this situation, when one is a convert. I think that the example that we just heard from Shalini answers this to some degree, because she's a convert, mashallah, and she talked about a situation that applies not only to converts but to people whose parents are not on the same page in terms of the spiritual goals that you have, and why you want to marry someone who is a person of deen, as opposed to having certain accomplishments in dunya, which is often what our parents are looking for, unfortunately. So I think that if your father is someone who understands you and you have a good relationship with him, and you can see him as a wali, as someone who will act in your best interest, then it's fine if your father is not a Muslim. If he's willing to act in your best interest and understand how we do things as Muslims, then it's not really a problem, because the eyes of the parents are not necessarily to evaluate, with basira or something like that, to penetrate the inside of this man and see how his heart is. It's not really necessarily that which you're looking for, but you're looking for someone who knows you very well, usually your parent knows you quite well, if it's a positive relationship that you have, and who can at least analyze that aspect, which is the integrity, and sort of speak to that person man to man, and at least that this person who's approaching you for marriage knows that there is a man in your life. As Shaykh Walead said, I think that is absolutely essential, that there has to be a man, because it changes the dynamic right away. It just puts a certain limit around things, and it also puts a certain time limit, which is extremely important, because what we see today is that there are no time frames. And people are just going on for like 3 years, talking to each other via WhatsApp. Every little problem is being shared. The woman is offering a huge amount of emotional support through every little obstacle that the man is having. Every time he has some problem, he writes to her and she comforts him. And then at the end of 3 years, there's still no proposal, and then he drops her. I really believe that if that man knew that there's a father asking her questions on the other side and willing to step in and even talk to him, then things would be different. And that's the way things used to be done even in this country 100 years ago. You know, parents are willing to step in and say, please, don't waste my daughter's time. If you're serious, let's get a time frame for this. Let's at least get engaged. Let's move on with this. So I think that parents, I know many examples of converts who have parents who are very loving, who understand that that person is walking a spiritual path, and who are very respectful of that, and who can be very good allies in this process. At the same time, in this case, it's still important to have a mentor and a guide, and someone who can be there for you spiritually, and who can understand that aspect of it, and who can ask the important questions that relate to the deen of the man. So, yeah.
Bismillah. Also, yeah, I can tell you, the Sheikh sounds very well. She made me meet her father and her brother before even agreeing to see me. So, khalas, I was already, khalas, I confiscated. But I felt that way, khalas. Alhamdulillah. It's not only about what are you getting from having a man in your life as a girl. It's a right, it's the father's right. Shaykh Walead said something very good, which is, he said, very important, they raised her for you. They raised that girl. A father has a right to be respected, to be valued as a father. And that's his time. That's the time. You have to go to you have to go to the father and honor the father and take a gift for the father, and really, even in our society, in our days and age today, when fathers are really masakin, yani they are kids, they are still playing PlayStation in their basement at the age of 60, or with their motorbike, etc., and they are not they did not really play that role 100%. It will give them a chance. It's a da'wah for them. It will give them a chance. Just when you respect them as a father, we're talking about non-Muslim father, that's the best time to make da'wah. They will feel appreciated. It's something that became completely strange. And our poor brothers, human brothers here, they get conditioned to accept something that the fitrah does not accept. A father will never, even a rooster, even any, he wouldn't accept a male to jump on his daughter like that without him agreeing, without him being in the picture. And we see our brothers here with this called sufilization, and from sufil, really it became a sufilization, it became a really lowlization of the human values. We see that they swallow it, and he sees that his daughter at the age of 13, I'm telling you, wallahi, no one is happy like that. When I used to work in the courthouse, and they saw one of the judges, he was really broken, and he cried in front of me. And he told me, he said, my daughter, she's with that gangster. He said, look at my daughter. And he was showing me the pictures, the photos of his daughter, of his 17-year-old. I said, what? And he said, I can't. And she came to the home pregnant. He was so devastated. And this is a judge in the courthouse, and you can say, who would embrace the values of this society more than these people, but they get offended. You wouldn't find a single male happy that his daughter will come home like that and just that will be used and abused, and his door is just broken. He's nothing. The father is the door of the house. He's the bab. The baba, huh? The bab. I'm going to say baba. He's the bab. He's the door. You have to go to the door. You have to value people. You have to respect people for who they are. Just go to the father, even if he is non-Muslim, even if he is whatever. Just go. Just, you are the father of that girl, and yeah, I'm coming through. Maybe that will be the best da'wah way to him. He will feel appreciated as a human being, because let us invite people to be human again, to their fitrah, and they will find God in that way. This is the first part. The second part, talking about mentorship. Yeah, let us not be so romantic. Unfortunately, when Shalini is talking about, okay, maybe she's lucky enough, she found herself in a community where there is actually a mentor or something like that, and they don't know which community is that, and they really actually cared for you. But where are the imams today who actually care for the girls? You come to them and I want to get married, and they wouldn't ask many questions, and this is a warning and a reminder for our brothers who are playing that role of religious authority. They have to be responsible. They have to be responsible. If you know that there is something wrong with the guy, it's not about marriage. It's not a game. You have to really be a wali. If you are a wali, it's not acting wali, and then you don't know where is she, and then it's a wali. It's not just a protocol. You have to be. If you are a wali, you have to be a wali. You have to be a wali. Okay, the non-Muslim father cannot be a wali, so she needs a Muslim wali. So be a wali. Wali. Be an ally. So if 3 months after, if there is something, be an authority, so they come to you. It's not just, okay, for signature of the contract to wali. It's just a protocol, an empty protocol. And the way we emptied Sharia from its نعم الولي يبقى مسؤول لمدة الحياة. You go back to him, etc. Le parrain. It's even in the Catholic society, they have le parrain. The godfather. Be a godfather, you are the wali. Now it became just a protocol, even here and there, and even in the Muslim marriage, okay, bring a wali from the street. He doesn't even know her name, and so I'm acting as a wali. Seriously. And after that, when she finds that he is actually married, and he told her that I was never married, and she finds out that he was actually married to 2 women, and this convert sister, she finds herself like, oh, you know what, yeah, the Sharia actually justifies, and they have the right to get married to, and they can bring, you are the 3rd one, I can bring a 4th one, and we have 4 bedrooms, and each one, and to whom she can run, to whom she can go, to whom she can cry. She cannot go to her non-Muslim father because the reputation of her own religion. She doesn't want to really disclaim and give her father, who was already unhappy that she converted. See, I told you, don't go to that religion. They are like that. They're not. So she swallows it, and I don't want to say anything. And she goes to the imam, and the imam is, yeah, you know what, I just was needed to sign a contract. I don't know anything. You should have made your research on your own. You know, we should play, if you are called to play a role in a marriage, you have to be responsible, and you have to continue being in that relationship. Barakallahu fikum.
The gaze of your affection to